So the player has just finished the level and you want to record the high score. And you're thinking, well, I would like for them to put in their name or something rather so that the next time they try or their friends try, they can actually compare with each other. But here's the thing. When you have mouse and keyboard and you have a controller that you want to support, it becomes a little bit tricky on how to handle that. Because what you can do is use Unity's keyboard input system, or you can just make something that is universally accepted. So you were going to go down the universally accepted route on how to do that. So over here, we've just finished the game, and we've got a new best score, score's 22, and we want to input our name and record that. So as you can see, we can set up a name. We're just using 3 characters, nice and simple, very arcadey, and that's the thing. I also have here a controller, so just put my mouse out of the way. You can see it's got full controller support. I can increase the letters and select something. Also a number, say 5FG. Sure, that's some name. Confirm. You can see we now have a new high score. So, how do we go about that? Well, let's find out. So, we've got the up-down selector, and we have our new milestone UI. Let's just see them side by side. The up-down selector is actually doing all the logic with selecting up and down, as one would imagine. And the UI handles the actual display and the recording of the entire UI interface and all the logic that needs to be run in it. So the up-down selector is just simply managing its own local logic. So yeah, let's just have a quick look at what it looks like within the scene, so we have a better idea on what we're working with when we actually look at the script. So let's just go to our scene. So this would be the game over scene. As you can tell, we're now game over scene. We've got our canvas. We had some pop-ups. So the pop-up that is in question is the new milestone input. Because we've hit a new milestone, so a new score, we have this input that pops up. But let's just have a look how it's made up of. So it is a panel with a label. Yeah, let me just make this a little smaller so we can see actually what's going on. We have a level, a label. It is just a TextMesh Pro. Everything we use is TextMesh Pro, and we use the new input system. We just try to keep it as modern as possible. Obviously, there is the UI toolkit. Sorry, the UI document. For lack of better words, there is a new system using CSS, but we're not using that. We're using the TextMesh Pro. We have a score text. There's the score that you actually see that gets populated, and we have a bunch of the arrow buttons. So these are just very simple buttons. We've got some text, which is just the TextMesh Pro. We have bottom buttons, which is the repeat of the top buttons, but pointing down. And we have the confirmation button. Just a really quick one on the actual buttons itself. When you're setting up a button, you can change the navigation to explicit, which means that you can say with the visualizer enabled, you can see which one goes to which in terms of when you hit left, right, up, or down, you'll be able to navigate to each one. So let's say we're on this very top left button. When we hit down, we'll go to button 1, which is the button right below it. And then if we were to go right, we'll go to the button up 2, which is that one. So that is actually how you explicitly set up the buttons. Unity does a pretty good job at setting it up automatically, but turns out for this case, I had to set it up manually. Anyway, this is how it's made up. Bunch of up buttons, text in the middle, bottom buttons, score text, and a label. but we're not going to worry too much about the score text and label. We're going to talk more about the logic of the up and down selector. Really quick, let's go back. All the scripts live on the root of this pop-up, the new milestone input. We've got the UI that controls all the UI, and we've got the selector that is doing all the selection logic. So how does the selector work? We have a bunch of, we have an array for the top buttons, an array for the bottom buttons, and the array for those middle elements of the text. On enable, we're just gonna do some error handling to make sure that we have things assigned correctly. We have this character index selected. So this is actually the index that is pointing to one of these characters in the string to determine what is to be displayed. So we're gonna just start off with creating the new array at the length of the characters array. Next up, we are going to obviously just some disabling. So remove and add the input listeners. So on this case, the top buttons get an increased character and the bottom buttons get a decreased character respectively. Nice and simple. And that is exactly what we're doing here. We're keeping it very simple. So when we increase the character, we set the current index. So we're going to set the current index, or rather we're going to pass the index, because that's what we're doing. We're just using a callback method to increase character by feeding in some index. We're going to pass in, we're going to pass in the index, and we are going to get the character index selected, and we're going to increment it by 1, and we're going to modulus by the number of characters actually available to us. So in this case, there are, 26 letters plus 10 numbers. That makes it 36. So for example, if we were to increment this and it goes to 37, the modulus of the length would be 37 divided by 36. The remainder is 1. So we end up back at 1. So we loop around. And that's what enables this. I'll give a quick demonstration at the end just to show you. Then we're going to just simply assign the text for the characters array, which is all our Text Mesh Pro elements that are in the middle. We're going to assign the text to the index that we have now moved to. Obviously, we need to turn it into a string. And then decrease character is just the opposite of it. We're just minusing 1, and then we're doing a modulus check to see if we've looped around, and then we're going to assign it to the text element. Yeah, and that's it. We've got a get complete name. So this is to handle the logic. So we are separating, or rather what's called the separation of concern. We are just separating this from the UI, which actually, the UI script, which is this guy on the right, which is actually driving everything. Hence why we are exposing an API for get complete name, which says, hey, read all the characters in those 3 character slots or this entire array, append them together, and return the actual final element. Nice and easy. So this guy is just going to simply submit. So he is going to get this get complete name over here, which is going to deal with the high score manager. We're going to combine the high score and the complete name, and we're going to do some logic to save it. You can have your own implementation. We have ours. So yeah, very quickly, let me just show you this guy over here. Let's see if we hit play. We should be able to increment. And you can see what happens is when we go past all our characters, remember our modulus, we're going to return back to A. There we go. So that's how you set it up. Nice and simple. It shouldn't be any more complicated than that. Hopefully that helped. What this does is, once again, circumvent the need for having to show a on-screen keyboard when you're dealing with input. Say you are trying to release a game on the Switch or the Steam Deck, or you're trying to integrate with a console, they will have only access to the controller input. You can have an on-screen keyboard, or you can just say, hey, you know what, let's just cycle the name, and it's just that simple. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.